The city lights of New Shanghai shimmered beneath a glass dome, casting an artificial dawn over the restless metropolis. On the rooftop of the United Earth Spaceport, Dr. Amina Patel gazed at the stars, her breath fogging the air. The world was quiet, holding its breath before the leap. "Are you ready?" asked Captain Elias Monroe, stepping beside her. His uniform, midnight blue with a silver phoenix, caught the starlight. Amina smiled, though her eyes betrayed a storm of emotion. "Ready as I'll ever be. It's strange, isn't it? We spent centuries looking up, dreaming. Now we're finally going." Elias looked skyward, tracing the path of the orbital elevator that stretched like a thread from the city to the heavens. "It's more than a mission. It's a promise to ourselves, to everyone who came before." Below, the city pulsed with anticipation. News feeds blared updates. The Archship Dauntless would depart at dawn, carrying the first wave of settlers to Luna and beyond. Across the globe, families gathered, watching, hoping. The world's leaders, once divided, now stood together, their signatures on a single charter. The Accord of Ascension out of Mina's comlink chimed. "Dr. Patel, final systems check complete." All green, came the voice of her assistant, Lynn. "Thank you, Lynn. I'll be right there." Elias offered his hand. She took it, feeling the calluses of a man who'd spent his life building the future. Together, they descended into the heart of the spaceport, where the Dauntless awaited, sleek, silver, and alive with possibility. As they walked, Amina whispered, "Do you think we're ready for what's out there?" Elias's eyes sparkled. "We're human. We make ourselves ready." The doors opened, revealing the cavernous launch bay. The Dauntless loomed above, bathed in blue light. Engineers scurried, voices echoing in a dozen languages. Amina's heart raced, not with fear, but with hope. Tonight, the world would change forever. The Dauntless interior thrummed with energy. Hundreds of pioneers, scientists, engineers, artists, and dreamers filed into their berths, faces lit by excitement and anxiety. Amina moved through the corridors, checking on her team. Lynn met her at the medical bay, her eyes wide. "Dr. Patel, the neural link interface is stable. No anomalies." "Good work, Lynn. Remember, you're not just monitoring systems, you're watching over people. We're all in this together." In the command deck, Elias ran a final systems check with his pilot, Commander Yuki Tanaka. "Engines?" he asked. "Fusion drive at 98%. "We're ready," Yuki replied, her voice steady. Amina joined them, glancing at the main screen. Earth hung below, a blue marble wrapped in clouds. Elias activated the comm. "This is Captain Monroe to all hands. We stand on the edge of history. Today we leave our home, not to escape but to expand, to build, to learn, to thrive. Whatever we find among the stars, we face it together." A hush fell as the countdown began. 10. Amina gripped the armrest, heart pounding. 3. The Dauntless shuddered, then soared. G-forces pressed the crew into their seats as the ship ascended through the atmosphere, past the orbital elevator, into the velvet black. The world fell away, replaced by infinity on the main screen. The moon grew larger, its surface etched with promise. "We did it," Lynn whispered. Amina smiled, tears in her eyes. "No, Lynn, we've only just begun." The Dauntless settled into lunar orbit, its engines silent. Below, the Sea of Tranquility shimmered, dotted with the lights of the first human outpost, Armstrong Base. Elias led the landing party, his boots crunching on regolith as he stepped onto the surface. Amina followed, her suits hot alive with telemetry. "Welcome to Luna, Dr. Patel," Elias said, offering a mock salute. She laughed, her voice crackling over comms. "I always imagined the moon would be lonely, but it feels alive." The base bustled with activity. Robots unloaded supplies, engineers erected habitats, and children, yes, children, chased each other in low gravity, laughter echoing in the thin air. Amina met with the base's director, Dr. Hassan Al-Farouk. "We're ready for Phase 2, he said. "The Mars fleet launches next month." "Any trouble with the reactors?" Amina asked. "None. The fusion cores are stable. We're producing more power than we can use. Elias joined them, peering through a viewport at Earth. It's beautiful, isn't it? But we can't stay here forever. Mars is the next step. Amina nodded. And after that, Elias grinned. Wherever the stars lead. That night, the pioneers gathered in the habitat dome. They shared stories, sang old songs, and gazed at Earth, a distant, fragile jewel. Amina closed her eyes, feeling the weight of history. Humanity had left its cradle. Now, it would learn to walk among the stars. Mars loomed, rust-red and forbidding. The Dauntless, refitted for the journey, descended through the thin atmosphere, its hull glowing with re-entry heat. Elias piloted the ship with steady hands. Landing vector-locked, braced for turbulence. Amina watched the surface rise to meet them. Vast canyons, frozen rivers, dust storms swirling like spirits. The ship touched down near the Valles Marineris, its landing struts sinking into the ochre soil. Outside, the wind howled. Lynn, check her instruments. Atmospheric pressure stable. Radiation shields holding. Elias led the first team onto the surface. Their boots left prints in the dust, marks that would last for centuries. Amina planted the United Earth flag, its colors bright against the barren landscape. For all humankind, she whispered. The Mars base took shape quickly. Domes blossomed like flowers, connected by tunnels. Hydroponic farms sprouted green life. The first Martian child was born, a girl named Mira. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Elias and Amina walked the perimeter. Do you ever miss Earth? Elias asked. Amina smiled. Sometimes, but here, every sunrise is a new beginning. Elias nodded. Mars will test us, but we'll endure. We always do. Above them, the stars beckoned, promising new worlds, new challenges, and new hope. The success of Luna and Mars ignited a fire across Earth. Nations pooled resources, corporations raced to innovate, and the United Earth Space Agency charted bold new courses. The next targets, Europa and Titan, moons of Jupiter and Saturn. The Dauntless, now a legend, led a fleet of ships, each named for explorers of old. Amina, now Chief Science Officer, briefed her team. Europa's ocean may harbor life. Our mission is to explore, not exploit. Remember, we're guests here. Elias, promoted to Fleet Admiral, addressed the crews. We go not as conquerors, but as seekers. The galaxy is vast. Let's make sure we're worthy of it. The journey to Jupiter was perilous. Radiation storms battered the ships, and the cold was relentless. Lynn, now head engineer, worked miracles to keep systems running. On Europa, they drilled through miles of ice, sending probes into the dark sea below. The data was astonishing. Complex chemistry, strange currents, hints of bioluminescence. Amina's voice trembled as she reported to Earth. We may not be alone. On Titan, methane rivers flowed under orange skies. The settlers built floating cities, harvesting energy from the tides. One night, as the auroras danced, Elias gathered the leaders. We've come far, but this is just the beginning. The stars are calling, and humanity answered with courage, curiosity, and unity. As humanity's reach extended, their signals echoed across the void. Unbeknownst to them, others were listening. Aboard the Dauntless, Amina received a strange transmission. Patterns, pulses, a language not of Earth. Lynn analyzed the data. It's too regular to be natural. Someone, or something, is trying to communicate. Elias called a council. We have a choice. Do we respond? Amina's eyes shone. We must. We're explorers, not invaders. The crew crafted a reply. Mathematics, music, images of Earth and its people. They sent it into the dark. Days passed. Then a reply, a shimmering hologram, projected into the command deck. It depicted beings of light, their forms shifting and beautiful. That a voice, clear and musical, spoke in perfect English. We are the Luminari. Welcome, children of Earth. The crew stared in awe. Amina stepped forward. We come in peace. We seek knowledge, friendship. The Luminari smiled. You have taken your first step into a larger universe. We will guide but not interfere. The path is yours to walk." Elias bowed his head. "Thank you. We hope to be worthy of the stars." The transmission ended, leaving the crew changed, humbled, inspired, and more determined than ever. The news of first contact electrified humanity. Old divisions faded as people united in purpose. The Accord of Ascension was renewed, its principles enshrined in law. New ships were built, faster, stronger, capable of crossing light years. The Dauntless became a museum, a symbol of the journey. Amina led the first expedition beyond the solar system, her ship the Aurora. As they approached Proxima Centauri, she addressed her crew. "We are the children of Earth, but the galaxy is our home. Let us honor it with wisdom, compassion, and courage." On Proxima B, they found a world of red skies and strange forests. The settlers built their homes with care, respecting the land. Elias, now a statesman, negotiated with alien ambassadors. Treaties were signed, alliances forged. Lynn developed the first FTL drive, opening the stars to all. Humanity spread, peacefully, purposefully, planting seeds of hope wherever they went. And always, they remembered their origins, their struggles, and the promise they made to build a better future together. Not all was easy. Some worlds resisted, their inhabitants wary of outsiders. On the planet Vera, negotiations faltered and tensions rose. Amina led a delegation, her voice calm. "We come to learn, not to rule. Teach us your ways." The Varans, proud and ancient, tested the humans with riddles, challenges, and feats of endurance. Elias, ever the diplomat, found common ground. "We both cherish family, honor, and the pursuit of knowledge. Let us share, not compete." Slowly, trust grew. The Varans opened their libraries, revealing secrets of the cosmos, but dangers lurked. A rogue faction, the Black Sun, sought to exploit the new order. They sabotaged ships, spread fear. Lin, now security chief, led the hunt. "We protect not just ourselves, but the dream we share." After a tense standoff, the Black Sun was defeated, not with violence, but with unity. The galaxy saw what humanity had become, not conquerors, but guardians. As humanity's influence grew, so did their responsibilities. The Luminari invited them to the Galactic Council, a gathering of the oldest and wisest species. Amina, Elias, and Lin represented Earth. The council chamber, a vast sphere of light and sound, was awe-inspiring. The Luminari spoke. "You have come far, but the journey is not over. The galaxy faces threats, cosmic storms, ancient machines, the darkness between stars." Elias responded, "We will stand with you. Together, we are stronger." The council debated, planned, and acted. New technologies were shared, old wounds healed. Amina proposed a Harmony Initiative, a network of aid, education, and exploration. Lin unveiled the Star Shield, a system to protect worlds from disaster. Humanity was no longer a newcomer. They were leaders, partners, friends. And as the council adjourned, the stars seemed brighter, the future more hopeful. Years passed. Generations grew up knowing the stars as home. Amina, now an elder, watched her grandchildren play on a world with two suns. Elias, his hair silver, taught at the Academy of Exploration. Lin, ever curious, mapped the edge of the galaxy. The Accord of Ascension became the foundation of galactic law. Peace, though never perfect, endured one night as the auroras danced. Amina gathered her family. "We came from a small world, fragile and beautiful. We faced darkness, but we chose light. Remember who you are and where you come from. The stars are ours, not to conquer, but to cherish." Her words echoed across the ages, a beacon for all who dared to dream. And so, humanity's story among the stars continued, a tale of hope, resilience, and the unyielding belief that the universe was meant to be explored together. The twin suns of New Terra rose over the city of Harmonia, casting long shadows across crystalline towers and lush gardens. Amina's granddaughter, Layla, raced through the central plaza, her laughter mingling with the songs of alien birds. She was a child of two worlds, her father, born on Mars, her mother on Vera. Her skin shimmered with a faint, iridescent hue, a gift from the Veran side of her family. Layla darted past the statue of the first dauntless crew, pausing to trace the engraved names. She found her grandmother's and smiled. "Someday, I'll have adventures too," she whispered. Her friend Joran, a boy with cobalt eyes and a tail inherited from his Jovian ancestors, caught up. "Race you to the Arboretum," he challenged. "You're on," Layla replied, and they sprinted beneath the flowering trees, their footsteps echoing on the polished stone. Inside the Arboretum, they found Lynn, now a revered elder and chief architect of the Star Shield. She knelt beside a glowing plant, adjusting its nutrient flow. "Good morning, Lynn," Layla called. Lynn looked up, her face creased with wisdom and kindness. "Good morning, explorers. What brings you here?" "We want to see the new star map," Joran said, eyes wide. Lynn smiled. "Curiosity is the first step to greatness." She led them to a vast holo display. With a gesture, the map unfolded, a living tapestry of worlds, each one pulsing with life. "These are the worlds we've touched," Lynn explained. "And these," she pointed to distant, unlit stars, "are the ones waiting for you." Layla's heart soared. "We'll go there one day." Lynn nodded. "And when you do, remember, you carry all of us with you." Outside, the city hummed with life. Humans and aliens, old and young, working, learning, dreaming. The children of two worlds were ready to shape the future. That evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Harmonia's great amphitheater filled with people from every corner of the galaxy. It was the Festival of Origins, a tradition begun on Luna, now celebrated across human and allied worlds. Lanterns floated above the crowd, shimmering with bioluminescent colors, casting gentle light on faces both familiar and strange. Layla sat with her family in the front row, her heart pounding with anticipation. Tonight, her grandmother Amina would tell the story of arrival, a tale every child knew but never tired of hearing. As the amphitheater quieted, Amina stepped onto the stage, her silver hair gleaming in the lantern light. She began, her voice strong and clear. "We came from a world of blue and green, a world we called Earth. We left not because we wished to abandon it, but because our dreams were too large for one sky." Holographic images danced above her head. Earth, the dauntless, the first steps on Luna, the red dust of Mars. Layla watched the crowd. Varans with their shimmering skin, Jovians with their tails, Luminari glowing faintly in the dusk. All listened, spellbound, as Amina spoke of hardship and hope, of the first contact with the Luminari, of the Accord of Ascension. Amina's eyes met Layla's in the crowd. "We are the children of many worlds now. We have learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to face the unknown together." When the story ended, the amphitheater erupted in applause. Lanterns rose higher, carrying wishes into the night. Layla closed her eyes and made her own wish, to find her place among the stars, to write her own chapter in the story of humanity. As the crowd dispersed, Elias, now frail but still sharp, joined Amina on stage. He squeezed her hand. "You gave them hope, old friend." Amina smiled, her gaze lingering on the horizon. "It's their turn now. The stars belong to them." The echoes of the past mingled with the promise of the future, and the festival continued long into the night, a celebration of all that humanity had become, and all it still could be. The dawn after the Festival of Origins brought a hush over Harmonia. As the city slowly awakened, a tremor of unease rippled through the Starshield's command center. Lynn, always an early riser, was reviewing the night's sensor logs when a persistent anomaly caught her eye. A faint, rhythmic pulse, too regular, too deliberate, emanated from the dark space beyond the galactic rim. She called up the holomap, isolating the signal. It was unlike anything she'd seen. A sequence of prime numbers, interspersed with bursts of what sounded like static, but on closer inspection, resolved into a pattern. A warning. Lin immediately summoned the council. Amina arrived first, followed by Elias, his steps slow but determined, and a cadre of representatives from allied worlds. The room filled with a low hum of concern. Lin projected the signal for all to hear. "This is not a natural phenomenon," she said. "It's a message, and it's coming from the void between galaxies." A luminary envoy, radiant and serene, spoke. "Long ago, we encountered such signals. They are the harbinger of the null, an ancient force that consumes stars, worlds, and memory itself. We believed it dormant." Elias's voice was grave. "How much time do we have?" The envoy's light dimmed. "Perhaps decades, perhaps less. The null moves in silence, and when it arrives, it brings oblivion." Amina stood, her resolve unshaken. "We have faced darkness before. We will face this together." The council erupted in debate, some urging caution, others demanding immediate action. Layla, listening from the gallery, felt a chill. The legends of the null had always seemed distant, mythic. Now, they were reeled as the meeting adjourned. Lin pulled Layla aside. "You're young, but your generation will bear the brunt of this. We need your ideas, your courage." Layla nodded, determination flickering in her eyes. "We won't let the darkness win." Outside, the suns rose over Harmonia, their light a fragile shield against the coming night. The first true test of humanity's unity was about to begin. The news of the null spread quickly, sending ripples of fear and resolve through the galactic community. On Harmonia, the council called for an emergency summit. Delegates from every allied world arrived, some in shimmering ships of living crystal, others in sleek vessels powered by quantum drives. The amphitheater, usually a place of celebration, became a war room. Amina, Elias, and Lin sat at the head of the table, flanked by the luminary envoy and Varen and Jovian leaders. Holographic projections filled the air. Star maps, threat assessments, and ancient luminary records depicting the devastation wrought by the null in forgotten ages. Elias's voice was steady as he addressed the assembly. "We have survived war, famine, and the unknown. We have built a civilization of many worlds. But now we face an enemy that cannot be reasoned with, cannot be bribed, cannot be turned aside. The null is coming, and it will erase all that we have built, unless we stand together." A Varen general, her skin shimmering with anxiety, spoke up. "Our fleets are powerful, but the null is not a foe of flesh and steel. How do we fight what devours the very fabric of reality?" Lin stood, her voice clear. "We fight with everything we have: science, unity, and hope. The star shield will be expanded. We will deploy sensor buoys, fortify our borders, and share all knowledge, no matter how secret." The luminary envoy added, "In the last cycle, the null was slowed by a coalition of many species. It can be resisted, but only if we act as one." Layla, sitting among the youth delegation, felt a surge of pride and fear. She whispered to Joran, "We have to help. We're the future, but the future is now." Joran nodded, his cobalt eyes shining. "Let's show them what we can do." As the summit continued, plans were drawn, alliances reaffirmed, and old grudges set aside. The storm was gathering, but so was humanity's resolve. For the first time, the galaxy truly stood as one. Outside, the twin suns of Harmonia shone through gathering clouds, their light a symbol of hope in the face of encroaching darkness. The summit's decisions set the galaxy in motion. Across Harmonia, factories and research labs buzzed with activity. The star shield, once a symbol of peace, was now the backbone of a desperate defense. Lin, never one to shy from a challenge, led the engineering teams day and night, her mind a storm of calculations and inspiration. In the heart of Harmonia's innovation district, Lin convened her brightest minds: humans, Varens, Jovians, even a pair of luminary scientists whose forms flickered with excitement. Holographic blueprints spun above their heads. New sensor arrays, energy fields, and theoretical weapons designed to disrupt the Null's advance. "We need more than walls," Lin declared, pacing before the group. "We need to understand what the Null is, how it thinks, what it fears." A Jovian physicist, his tail twitching with nervous energy, spoke up. "The Null consumes energy, matter, even information. But it leaves patterns, echoes where it passes. Maybe we can use those echoes to predict its movements." Lin nodded. "Good. We'll need a network, an array of listening posts stretching from the galactic rim to our core worlds. If we can see it coming, we can prepare." Meanwhile, Layla and Joran, inspired by the summit, organized their own brigade, the Young Explorers. Their mission was to travel to distant outposts, gather stories, and rally hope. They believed that unity was built not just in council chambers, but in the hearts of ordinary people. That Layla's first assignment took her to the icy moon of Irene, where miners and scientists worked side by side. She stood on a windswept ridge, broadcasting a message to all: "We are not alone. We are not powerless. Together, we are the architects of our own future." Back on Harmonia, Amina and Elias coordinated with the Luminari, poring over ancient texts and cosmic maps. The Elders' wisdom, combined with youthful energy and cutting-edge science, formed a bulwark against despair. Weeks passed. The first sensor buoys went online, their signals forming a shimmering net across the stars. The galaxy watched and waited, knowing that the real test was yet to come. The galaxy's net of sensor buoys pulsed with silent vigilance, their signals weaving a tapestry of warning and hope. On the edge of known space, where starlight thinned and the void yawned, the outpost of Meridian Station stood sentinel. It was here, among the icy asteroids and drifting shadows, that the Null was first glimpsed. Commander Riasato, a veteran of the Mars campaigns, paced the observation deck. Her crew, a mix of humans and Varens, watched the sensor readouts with mounting anxiety. The Null's approach was not heralded by ships or weapons, but by a slow, unnatural silence. A region where radio signals faded, light dimmed, and even gravity seemed to falter. "Report," Rhea barked, her voice steady despite the chill in her bones. The Varen technician's hands trembled over the controls. "Ma'am, the Null it's like a shadow, but it's eating the stars behind it. Our probes are vanishing. No signal, no debris. Just gone." On Harmonia, Lin and her team received the alert. The holomap flickered, displaying a spreading zone of darkness. Lin's jaw tightened. "Patch me through to Meridian Station." Rhea's face appeared, pale and resolute. "We're holding, but the Null is advancing. Our energy shields are degrading. It's like it's draining the power from our systems." Lin's mind raced. "Try modulating your shields. Randomize the frequency. We need to see if it reacts." As Meridian's engineers scrambled to comply, Layla and the Young Explorers watched the live feed with wide eyes. Joran whispered, "We're seeing history, or the end of it." Suddenly, the Null pulsed, a ripple of darkness, swallowing 3 sensor buoys in an instant. Meridian's lights flickered, alarms blaring. "We're losing containment," Rhea shouted, initiating evacuation protocols. The crew scrambled for escape pods. Rhea stayed behind, transmitting data until the last moment. "Tell Harmonia, tell the galaxy, fight it with everything you have." The feed cut to static. On Harmonia, silence fell. Lin slumped in her chair, grief and fury warring in her heart. But in that silence, a new determination took root. Amina addressed the council. "We have seen the face of oblivion. Now, we must become its undoing." The first encounter was a loss, but not a defeat. Across the galaxy, humanity and its allies steeled themselves for the battles to come, knowing the true war had only just begun. The loss of Meridian Station echoed like a thunderclap across the galaxy. News feeds replayed Commander Riasato's final transmission, her words a rallying cry and a warning. On Harmonia, Amina stood before the council, her voice carrying the weight of grief and resolve. "We have witnessed the Null's power," she declared, her eyes sweeping over the gathered delegates. but we have also witnessed our own courage. Meridian's sacrifice will not be in vain. We must turn fear into unity, and unity into action. The council chamber buzzed with urgency. The Luminary envoy projected a star map, showing the null's slow advance. It feeds on energy and order. But the last cycle's records suggest it can be disrupted if we act swiftly and together. Lynn took the floor, her mind already working through possibilities. We need to coordinate every world, every fleet. The Star Shield must be upgraded with a new shield modulation. We'll need volunteers for the front lines, scientists, engineers, soldiers, and storytellers to keep hope alive. Layla and Joran, watching from the youth gallery, exchanged a look. "We should go," Layla whispered. "The young explorers can help, gather stories, spread hope, keep people connected." Joran nodded, determination in his cobalt eyes. "We'll go where we're needed most." Across the galaxy, the call went out. On Mars, miners volunteered to reinforce asteroid belts as barriers. On Vera, artists and engineers collaborated to create morale-boosting holos and music that would be broadcast to distant outposts. Even the reclusive Jovian clans pledged their fastest ships and bravest pilots. Amina, Elias, and Lynn coordinated the efforts, working without rest. Elias, though frail, became the voice of the resistance, his broadcast stirring courage in the hearts of billions. "We are the sum of our stories, the light of our ancestors, the hope of our children. The null cannot erase us if we stand together." In the shadow of loss, the galaxy found its purpose. As the null crept onward, the architects of resistance, old and young, human and alien, wove a tapestry of defiance and hope. The stars, once silent witnesses, now watched as their children prepare to fight for the very memory of existence. The young explorer's ship, the Odyssey, was a marvel of human and alien ingenuity, sleek, swift, and equipped with the latest sensor arrays and shield modulators. Layla, now the mission's official envoy, stood at the viewport as the stars streaked by. Her heart thudded with a mix of fear and exhilaration. Joran entered the bridge, his tail flicking with anticipation. "We've received our assignment. We're to travel to the colony on Lyra's Hope. The null shadow is only weeks away, and morale is crumbling." Layla nodded, her resolve hardening. "Then we'll remind them what it means to be part of something greater." The Odyssey dropped out of hyperspace above Lyra's Hope, a lush, mountainous world now shrouded in anxiety. The colony's once bright towers seemed dim, their lights flickering like uncertain candles. The landing bay was eerily quiet as Layla and her team disembarked. They were greeted by Governor Maris, her face drawn with worry. "We've lost contact with 3 outlying settlements. People are frightened. Some want to flee, but there's nowhere safe." Layla offered a reassuring smile. "We're here to help. We'll listen to your people, share news from the rest of the galaxy, and help organize the evacuation if it comes to that. But most of all, we'll remind them they're not alone." Joran led a technical team to upgrade the colony's shields, working side by side with local engineers. Layla, meanwhile, visited schools, hospitals, and community halls, sharing stories of Meridian Station's bravery and the galaxy's united response. In the evenings, the young explorers hosted gatherings in the Central Plaza. Holographic displays painted the sky with images of distant worlds and messages of hope from across the stars. Children laughed and danced, their fears momentarily forgotten. One night, as the auroras shimmered overhead, an old miner approached Layla. "You're young, but you carry the fire of the old heroes. Tell us, child, do you truly believe we can survive this?" Layla met his gaze, her voice steady. "I do, because we're not fighting alone. Every world, every person, every story. Together, we're stronger than the darkness." The miner nodded, hope flickering in his eyes. "Then we'll stand with you until the very end." As the null's shadow crept closer, the spirit of Lyra's hope began to shine brighter. The young explorers had done more than upgrade shields. They had rekindled the colony's will to resist. Back aboard the Odyssey, Layla sent a message to Harmonia. "Hope is holding. We're ready for the next world. On Harmonia, the Council's war room pulsed with activity. Holographic projections displayed the null's advance, its shadow now encroaching on 3 more star systems. The mood was tense but focused. The galaxy's greatest minds worked side by side, racing against oblivion. Amina presided over the meeting, her presence commanding respect. "We have seen the null adapt to our shields," she began. "But we have also seen it hesitate when confronted with unpredictable energy patterns. We must exploit this." Lynn, her eyes rimmed with exhaustion, stepped forward. "We're developing a new device, the Chaos Beacon. If we can saturate a region with randomized quantum signals, we might disrupt the null's coherence, at least temporarily." A Jovian admiral, his uniform gleaming, raised an eyebrow. "Temporarily? How long do we need?" Lynn shook her head. "Minutes, maybe hours. But that may be enough to evacuate worlds or regroup our fleets." The Luminary envoy, glowing with urgency, added, "In the last cycle, we learned the null fears unpredictability. Life itself, its chaos, its creativity, is our greatest weapon." Elias, his voice gravelly but strong, addressed the assembly. "We must buy time, not just for evacuation, but for understanding. Every encounter with the null is a chance to learn, and every world we save is a victory." The Council approved the deployment of Chaos Beacons to the front lines. Fleets mobilized, carrying the devices to threatened systems. Messages flashed across the stars. "Hold fast. Help is coming." Meanwhile, the young explorers' reports from Lyra's Hope and other worlds provided crucial intelligence. Their stories of courage and unity inspired millions, bolstering morale even as the darkness crept closer. I in the quiet between strategy sessions, Amina and Lynn walked the gardens of Harmonia. Flowers from 100 worlds bloomed around them, symbols of resilience. "Do you ever fear we're only delaying the inevitable?" Lynn asked softly. Amina smiled, her eyes reflecting starlight. "Perhaps, but every day we hold the darkness at bay is another day for hope to grow. That's what matters." As the Council prepared for the first major confrontation, a sense of unity settled over the galaxy. The null was powerful, but it had never faced a resistance as diverse, creative, and determined as this. The gambit was set. The next move would decide the fate of worlds. The first major confrontation with the null unfolded at the icy moon of Irene, a strategic outpost orbiting a gas giant at the edge of the Lyra sector. The moon's surface, usually serene beneath shimmering auroras, now bristled with defensive arrays and the newly deployed Chaos Beacons. Starships from a dozen worlds orbited above, their hulls gleaming with hope and desperation. Aboard the flagship Unity, Admiral Soren coordinated the defense. Lynn, patched in from Harmonia, monitored the null's approach with a team of Luminari and human scientists. "Status?" Lynn's voice crackled through the command channel. Admiral Soren's reply was taut. "The null is less than an hour out. All ships report ready. Chaos Beacons are online and synchronized." On the moon's surface, Layla and Joran had joined the ground teams, helping to organize the evacuation of Irene's research colony. The air was thick with tension as families boarded shuttles, clutching keepsakes and one another. Suddenly, the null arrived, not as a fleet, but as a wave of darkness that swallowed the stars. The temperature dropped. Lights flickered. The first line of sensor buoys vanished into silence. "Fire the beacons," Soren commanded. The Chaos Beacons erupted in a symphony of energy, their signals wild and unpredictable. The null's advance slowed, its shadow rippling as if in confusion. For a moment, hope surged, but the null adapted. Tendrils of darkness probed the defenses, seeking patterns, exploiting weaknesses. Ships in the outer ring began to falter, their systems draining as if by an invisible hand. Lynn's team scrambled for solutions. "Increase the beacon output. Feed it every random signal we have. Music, poetry, anything." A Luminari scientist added a melody from their homeworld, a song of chaos and beauty. The null recoiled, its form fracturing for a heartbeat. On the ground, Layla rallied the last group of evacuees. "Go! I'll cover you!" she shouted, helping a wounded engineer to the shuttle. Joran, at her side, fired a portable beacon into the darkness. The null hesitated, allowing the shuttle to escape. Above, the Unity led a desperate counterattack, bombarding the null's edge with energy pulses. The combined might of the Allied fleet bought precious minutes. Finally, with most of Irene's population evacuated, Soren gave the order, "All ships retreat." The fleet jumped to safety, leaving the beacons to burn out in the null's wake. Irene was lost, its surface swallowed by darkness. But the people were saved, and the null had been slowed, if only for a time. But on Harmonia, the Council received the news with grim satisfaction. The battle was costly, but it had proven the null could be resisted. In the aftermath, Lynn addressed the galaxy. "We have learned, we have survived, and we will fight on." Layla and Joran, battered but alive, watched the stars from their shuttle. "We did it," Joran whispered. Layla nodded, her eyes shining with tears and determination. "This is just the beginning." The refugee world of Calypso was a place of contrasts. Lush jungles and silver rivers, hastily constructed camps, and ancient alien ruins. Evacuees from Irene and other threatened colonies mingled with Calypso's native population. Their lives upended, but their spirits unbroken. Layla and Joran arrived with the latest wave of survivors, their shuttle touching down on a landing pad crowded with aid workers and volunteers. The air was thick with the scents of unfamiliar flowers and cooking fires. Children played among the tents, their laughter a fragile thread of normalcy. Governor Tarek, a tall woman with Martian heritage, greeted them at the camp's edge. "You're the young explorers, yes? We've heard of your work. We could use your help. People are frightened, rumors are spreading, and we've had strange occurrences near the old ruins." Layla exchanged a glance with Joran. "What kind of occurrences?" Tarek led them through the bustling camp to the edge of the jungle, where a group of scientists and local guides waited. Lights in the ruins, devices failing for no reason. Some say it's the null, but the patterns are different, almost like a message. Intrigued, Layla and Joran joined the investigation. The ruins were massive, overgrown with vines and carved with symbols that shimmered in the twilight. As they ventured deeper, their equipment began to flicker, but not with the draining cold of the null. Instead, it pulsed with bursts of energy, as if something ancient was trying to communicate. Joran knelt by a stone pillar, tracing the glowing lines. "These aren't just decorations. They're a code, maybe even a warning." Layla activated her comm, transmitting the patterns back to Lynn and the Luminari on Harmonia. Within minutes, Lynn replied, her voice tinged with awe. "This is incredible. The symbols match fragments from the last cycle's records, left by a civilization that survived the null's first attack. They may have found a way to resist it." As night fell, the ruins came alive with light, casting shifting patterns on the jungle canopy. Layla felt a surge of hope. Maybe the answer isn't just in our technology, but in the wisdom of those who came before. Joran grinned, his tail flicking with excitement. "Let's find out what secrets these ruins hold. It could change everything." Back at camp, Layla addressed the refugees, her voice carrying through the night. "We are not just survivors, we are seekers. And together, we may have just found a new way forward." The discovery sent ripples across the galaxy. For the first time, the past and present united in the fight against the null. The ruins of Calypso held secrets that could tip the balance, and Layla and Joran were determined to unlock them. Layla and Joran spent days exploring the ruins of Calypso, joined by a growing team of scientists, linguists, and Luminari scholars. The symbols carved into the ancient stone pulsed with a subtle energy, responding to touch and sound. At night, the ruins glowed, casting intricate patterns onto the jungle canopy and drawing crowds of refugees who watched in all point one evening. As a warm rain fell, Layla sat with Joran and Dr. Vera, an expert in ancient galactic scripts. They pored over their notes, comparing the Calypso glyphs to the Luminari's records. "These patterns," Dr. Vera said, tracing a spiral with her finger, they're not just warnings. They're instructions, schematics for a device, or perhaps a ritual, designed to disrupt the null's advance. Joran's eyes widened. A weapon. Not a weapon, Layla said softly, piecing together the fragments. A beacon. Something to amplify chaos and creativity, the very things the null fears. As they worked, the ruins responded. The symbols shifted, aligning into a new configuration. A hidden chamber opened, revealing a crystalline structure at its center. Light danced within it, forming holographic images of beings, tall, graceful, and unmistakably ancient, standing against a tide of darkness that a voice, faint but clear, echoed through the chamber in a language older than any on record. The Luminari scholars translated in real time. To those who follow, we gift our knowledge. The null is not invincible. Where chaos and unity meet, its hunger falters. Build the beacon. Let your stories become your shield. Layla felt a chill. They survived. They left this for us. Joran grinned, excitement lighting his features. We have to get this to Harmonia. If we can build this beacon, we might be able to turn the tide. They transmitted every detail to Lynn and the council, who immediately convened an emergency session. The news spread like wildfire. Hope, tangible and ancient, had been found. That night, the refugees of Calypso gathered in the ruins, singing songs from 100 worlds. The jungle echoed with laughter and music, the ruins glowing brighter with every note. Layla stood at the center, her voice ringing out. We are the inheritors of every story, every struggle, every hope. The null cannot erase us. Not while we remember, not while we create. Above them, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The galaxy had a new plan, and the ruins of Calypso had given humanity and all its allies a fighting chance that on Harmonia, the Council's chambers buzzed with a new energy. The transmission from Calypso had ignited hope across the galaxy. Lynn, her eyes bright with determination, stood before an assembly of engineers, scientists, and cultural leaders from every allied world. We have the blueprint, she announced, projecting the holographic schematics above the table. The crystalline beacon, a fusion of ancient design and modern technology, shimmered with potential. But this isn't just a machine. It needs more than energy. It needs the chaos and unity of our cultures, our stories, our creativity. Amina, her voice steady, addressed the assembly. This is our moment. Every world, every people must contribute. The beacon must resonate with the full spectrum of who we are. Teams mobilized at once. On Mars, miners unearthed rare minerals needed for the beacon's core. Varen artists crafted intricate patterns to line its surface, each telling a story of survival and hope. Jovian engineers designed harmonics that would amplify the beacon's signal across light years. Layla and Joran, now celebrated as the discoverers of the beacon's secret, traveled from world to world, gathering songs, poems, and legends. At each stop, they recorded performances, children's choirs on Luna, Varen drum circles, Luminari light dances. The beacon would be more than a shield. It would be a chorus of the galaxy's soul. As the components arrived on Harmonia, the city's great plaza was transformed into a construction site. The crystalline core was set in place, surrounded by concentric rings etched with symbols from 100 languages. Artists, musicians, and storytellers rehearsed for the activation ceremony, their voices and instruments ready to fill the beacon with life. Elias, now frail but still a symbol of unity, addressed the galaxy in a live broadcast. We are more than the sum of our fears. We are the sum of our dreams, our stories, our music. The null cannot erase us if we refuse to be silent. Lynn oversaw the final assembly, her hands steady even as exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her. This is it, she whispered to Amina, the culmination of everything we are. As the beacon neared completion, the null's shadow loomed ever closer. The galaxy held its breath, united in purpose and hope. The race was on, not just for survival, but for the very essence of what it meant to be alive. The days leading up to the beacon's activation were a whirlwind of creativity and collaboration. Harmonia's plaza became a living mosaic of the galaxy's cultures. Tents and pavilions lined the square, each representing a different world, each filled with artists, engineers, and storytellers preparing their contributions. Layla and Joran moved among the pavilions, collecting the last pieces for the beacon's chorus. They watched as Martian sculptors in red dust cloaks shaped crystalline panels, embedding them with fragments of ancient lullabies. Nearby, Varen dancers practiced their swirling, iridescent movements, their steps encoded into the beacon's memory banks as kinetic data. In the Luminary Pavilion, beings of light wove strands of pure energy into the beacon's core, their voices harmonizing in frequencies that resonated with the structure itself. Lynn stood at the center of it all, coordinating the final integration. Every story, every note, every symbol matters, she reminded her team. The beacon must be alive with all we are. The night before activation, a rehearsal was held. Musicians tuned their instruments, poets recited verses in a dozen tongues, and children from every world sang together, their voices rising in a hopeful crescendo. The beacon pulsed with each performance, storing the chaos and beauty of the galaxy's soul. Amina, watching from a balcony, felt tears prick her eyes. Elias stood beside her, leaning heavily on his cane. "We've come so far," he whispered. "I never dreamed I'd see this day." Amina squeezed his hand. "It's because of you, and all who dared to believe we could be more than what we were." As dawn approached, the plaza filled with citizens, refugees, and dignitaries. Above them, the null shadow was visible now, a darkness blotting out stars on the horizon, advancing with implacable hunger. Lynn gave the final briefing. When the beacon is activated, it will need to be fed, not just with energy, but with the living chaos of our cultures. Sing, dance, tell your stories. Let the null hear who we are. Layla and Joran took their places at the beacon's heart, ready to lead the chorus. The galaxy waited, united and trembling, as the moment of truth arrived. As the first rays of Harmonia's twin suns crested the horizon, the plaza erupted in a symphony of sound and color. The beacon's crystalline core, now towering above the crowd, shimmered with anticipation. At its base, Layla and Joran stood hand in hand, surrounded by children from every world, their faces alight with hope and wonder. Lynn's voice echoed across the plaza and through every comm channel in the galaxy. "This is the moment. Let the beacon know us. Let the universe know we are here." A hush fell. Then, with a single, clear note from a Luminary singer, the ceremony began. The plaza came alive. Martian drummers pounded out the heartbeat of their red world. Jovian choirs sang in harmonics that vibrated the very air. Varen dancers spun and leapt, their iridescent forms painting shifting patterns of light. Poets recited verses in ancient and new languages, their words weaving through the music. Layla stepped forward, her voice steady and strong. "We are the children of 1,000 worlds. We are the dreamers, the builders, the storytellers. We are chaos and unity, fear and hope. We are alive." Joran added, "We are not alone. We are not silent. We are the sum of every story ever told, and we will not be erased." The beacon absorbed every sound, every movement, every burst of laughter, and every tear. Its core glowed brighter and brighter, resonating with the living chaos of the galaxy's cultures. The plaza's energy became a storm of creativity, swirling upward into the beacon and out into the void. Across the stars, the null felt it, a surge of unpredictability, a wave of unity and defiance. It recoiled, its advance slowing, its hunger faltering in the face of something it could not consume. On Harmonia, the beacon's light burst forth, a pillar of radiance that pierced the darkness and reached every corner of the galaxy. For a moment, the stars themselves seemed to sing. In that instant, every world, every being felt the same message in their hearts. We are here. We will not be forgotten. We are more than the sum of our fears. The null, for the first time in eons, hesitated, and the galaxy, united in song and story, stood together at the edge of oblivion, undaunted, unbroken, and alive in the void beyond Harmonia. The Null's advance slowed to a crawl. For the first time in its ancient existence, it sensed not emptiness, but resistance, a wild, unpredictable surge that defied its hunger. The beacon's song, woven from the chaos and unity of billions, battered the Null's formless edge like a storm of light. Within the Council's war room, Lin and the Luminari scientists watched the sensor feeds in stunned silence. The Null's shadow, once inexorable, now rippled with uncertainty. Its tendrils recoiled from the beacon's radiance, fracturing and reforming, unable to find a pattern to consume. "It's working," Lin whispered, her voice trembling with awe. "The beacon is disrupting its coherence. It can't feed on us if we refuse to be predictable, if we refuse to be silent." Amina, standing beside her, allowed herself a rare smile. "We've given it something it cannot digest, the living chaos of hope." Across the galaxy, the effect was immediate. Worlds that had prepared for evacuation now held their ground. Refugees on Calypso danced in the ruins, their songs echoing through the jungle. On Mars, miners broadcast their work chants into the ether, adding to the beacon's chorus. Even the most distant outposts joined in, their signals weaving a web of defiance on the plaza. Layla and Joran watched as the beacon's light pulsed in time with the music and laughter around them. Exhausted but exhilarated, they embraced, tears streaming down their faces. "We did it," Joran murmured. "We all did." Layla looked up at the sky, where the darkness was slowly retreating. "This isn't the end. The Null is still out there. But now it knows. We're not alone, and we're not afraid." The Council convened an emergency session, this time not to plan for survival, but to discuss the next steps in the fight. Lin addressed the assembly, her voice clear and resolute. "The Null is wounded, but not defeated. We must keep the beacon alive. We must keep creating, keep sharing, keep living. That is our shield." Elias, frail but radiant with pride, spoke to the galaxy one last time. "Let this be our legacy, that in the face of oblivion, we chose to sing." As the Null faltered, the galaxy found new strength in its unity and chaos. The war was not over, but hope had become a weapon, and the darkness had learned to fear the light. With the Null's advance stalled, a new resolve swept across the galaxy. The Council, now a true parliament of worlds, coordinated a counteroffensive, not with weapons of destruction, but with a campaign of creation. The beacon's song had shown the way. Unpredictability, creativity, and unity were the keys to resisting the Null's hunger that on Harmonia. Lin led the scientific coalition in refining the beacon's technology. "We can build more," she told the assembly, her voice alive with hope. "Every major world, every outpost should have its own beacon, each one unique, each one a living monument to its people's spirit." Teams fanned out across the stars. On Mars, a beacon was constructed using the deep, resonant harmonics of the planet's caverns and the poetry of its settlers. On Vera, artists and engineers collaborated to create a beacon that pulsed with color and movement, its patterns changing with every festival and gathering. Even the Jovian cloud cities, once isolated, joined in, their beacons powered by the wild, shifting storms of their skies. Layla and Joran traveled from world to world, helping to gather stories and traditions for each new beacon. On Calypso, they worked with refugees to encode the ancient ruins' wisdom into the beacon's matrix. On Lyra's Hope, they recorded lullabies sung in the shadow of the Null, the melodies now woven into the planet's defense. The Null, sensing the growing web of chaos and unity, lashed out. It sent waves of darkness at the new beacons, but each time it struck, it was met with a storm of unpredictable energy, music, laughter, invention, and love. The Null's form grew ragged, its hunger frustrated by the ever-changing defenses in a daring experiment. Lin and the Luminari attempted to communicate with the Null, broadcasting not just chaos, but messages of peace and curiosity. For the first time, The null paused, its tendrils wavering as if listening. On Harmonia, Amina watched the data unfold. Perhaps the null is not just a destroyer, she mused. Perhaps it is a force that tests the universe, pushing us to become more than we were. As the null retreated, the galaxy's people dared to hope, not just for survival, but for understanding. The war was transforming, becoming something new, a dance of light and shadow, chaos and order, creation and destruction. Layla, Joran, and Lynn stood at the heart of this new era, their bond stronger than ever. Together, they led the galaxy in its greatest adventure yet, not just to resist the darkness, but to illuminate it with the endless, unpredictable brilliance of life. As the network of beacons flourished, the galaxy entered a time of cautious celebration. Worlds once isolated by fear now shared their art, their science, and their stories across the stars. Yet, in the quiet between transmissions, Lynn and her team tracked something extraordinary. The null was no longer advancing. Instead, its vast, shadowy presence lingered at the edge of the beacon's influence, shifting and pulsing as if in contemplation. In the Harmonia Command Center, Lynn, Layla, Joran, and the Luminari envoy gathered around a holomap displaying the null's movements. The data was clear. Wherever a new beacon came online, the null paused, its tendrils swirling in patterns that mimicked the beacon's energy. Joran leaned forward, eyes wide. It's listening, or maybe learning. Layla nodded, her voice hushed with awe. What if it's not just a force of destruction? What if it's trying to understand us? The Luminari envoy, radiant with curiosity, suggested a bold experiment. Let us send a message, not of fear or defiance, but of invitation. Let us show the null the heart of our chaos. A story, a song, a question. Lynn's fingers danced over the console. She selected a recording of the Harmonia beacon's activation. Music, laughter, voices from every world. Then added a simple phrase, translated into mathematical patterns. Who are you? The message was broadcast across the beacon network, radiating into the void. For hours, there was silence. Then, the null responded, not with words, but with a pulse of energy that danced through the beacons, distorting their light into new, never-before-seen patterns. The plaza on Harmonia erupted in color, the sky above swirling with shapes that seemed to echo the galaxy's own creativity. Amina, watching from the council chamber, felt a shiver of hope. It's answering us in its own way. Across the galaxy, artists and scientists scrambled to interpret the null's reply. The patterns contained echoes of every culture's music, hints of ancient stories, and new harmonics that resonated with the beacon's cores. Layla and Joran stood beneath the transformed sky, hand in hand. We reached it, Layla whispered. For the first time, the darkness is speaking. Lynn smiled, tears shining in her eyes. And we're listening. The galaxy held its breath, poised on the threshold of a new understanding. The war with the null was no longer just a struggle for survival. It was a conversation, a chance to illuminate the unknown with the light of curiosity and unity. The null's response sent shockwaves through the galaxy. On every world, scientists, linguists, artists, and children gathered to study the swirling patterns and harmonics that now danced across the beacon's light. The plaza on Harmonia became a festival of collaboration. Holographic projections of the null's message hovered in the air, shifting with each new insight. Lynn led a round-the-clock decoding effort in the council's research wing. She worked alongside the Luminari, whose ancient memories offered clues, and with Varen mathematicians who saw meaning in the null's fractal pulses. Layla and Joran, ever the bridge between worlds, invited musicians and poets to join the effort, believing that the message might be as much art as science. One afternoon, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A group of Martian children, playing with the beacon's light, began to hum a tune that matched the null's shifting patterns. Their song, innocent and spontaneous, caused the beacon to pulse in harmony with the null's energy. It's a dialogue, Layla realized, watching the children. The null is echoing us, learning from us, and now it's inviting us to answer. Joran added, it's not just language. It's emotion, memory, creativity, a conversation in the language of existence itself. The council declared a galaxy-wide celebration, inviting every world to contribute a song, a story, a memory to the ongoing exchange. Across the stars, people gathered in plazas, fields, and domes, sending their voices and dreams into the beacon network. As the null's patterns grew more complex, Lynn and her team began to discern meaning. Questions, curiosities, even echoes of ancient fears. The null was not a mindless force, but a consciousness shaped by eons of solitude, drawn to the galaxy's unpredictable brilliance. Amina addressed the galaxy in a broadcast watched by billions. We have faced the darkness and found not an enemy, but a mystery. Let us answer it not with fear, but with wonder. Let our greatest creation be understanding. The null's shadow receded further, its presence now a shimmering veil at the edge of perception. The galaxy, united in purpose and creativity, had transformed a war of survival into a dialogue of discovery. Layla and Joran, standing beneath a sky alive with light and music, felt the weight of history lift. We're not just survivors, Layla whispered. We're explorers of the stars and of the unknown. And as the beacons pulsed with the stories of 1,000 worlds, the galaxy realized it had found not just peace, but a new beginning. As the galaxy's conversation with the null deepened, anticipation grew for a direct encounter, a true meeting of minds. On Harmonia, the council prepared for this historic moment. The beacon's network was synchronized to create a single, unified signal, a tapestry of art, science, and emotion from every world. Lynn, Layla, Joran, and the Luminary Envoy were chosen as the galaxy's representatives. They gathered in the heart of the Harmonia Plaza, surrounded by a chorus of musicians, poets, and children. The beacon's crystalline core pulsed with the energy of a billion hopes and dreams. Lynn initiated the sequence. We are ready, she announced, her voice broadcast across the stars. We invite you, Null, to speak with us. The plaza fell silent. The beacon's light intensified, swirling into a vortex above the city. The sky darkened, not with fear, but with anticipation, as the null's presence coalesced into a shimmering veil of shadow and light. A voice, vast and ancient, resonated through the plaza, not in words, but in sensations, curiosity, awe, loneliness, and a yearning to understand. Layla stepped forward, her heart pounding. She sang a simple melody, the lullaby from Lyra's hope, her voice trembling but clear. The null responded, weaving her song into its own patterns, echoing the melody with harmonics never before heard. Joran added a story, a tale of survival and unity from the Jovian clouds. The null's patterns shifted, forming images in the sky, storms, laughter, the faces of friends lost and found. Lynn spoke next, her words a blend of science and wonder. We are chaos and order, fear and hope. We seek not to destroy you, but to know you. What are you? The null's answer was a vision, a memory of drifting through empty galaxies, searching for meaning, drawn to the light of life. It showed its hunger was not malice, but a longing to be part of the unpredictable dance of existence. The Luminary Envoy extended a hand of light. Then let us create together. Let our chaos be your song. The plaza erupted in music and color as the null's presence mingled with the beacon's energy. For the first time, darkness and light danced as one. Across the galaxy, people wept and cheered. The war was over, not with victory or defeat, but with understanding. Layla looked at Joran, tears in her eyes. We did it. We turned fear into friendship. Lynn smiled, her heart full. And the story of the galaxy has only just begun. The days after first contact with the null were filled with wonder and possibility. Across the galaxy, celebrations erupted. Festivals of light, music, and stories that now included the once feared darkness as a partner in creation. The beacons, no longer just shields, became bridges, channels for ongoing exchange between the null and the living worlds that on Harmonia. The council convened for a gathering unlike any before. Delegates from every world, the Luminari, and even a shimmering projection of the null's presence attended. The plaza was a sea of color and song, the air alive with anticipation. Amina addressed the assembly, her voice steady and proud. We have learned that the unknown need not be our enemy. Through curiosity, courage, and unity, we have transformed fear into friendship. The null is now part of our story, and we, part of its. Lynn stood beside her, surrounded by the engineers and artists who had built the first beacon. Let us use this new alliance to explore what lies beyond. Together, with the null, we can reach further than ever before. Layla and Joran, now symbols of the new era, led the youth delegation. They shared stories of their journey, the lessons of hope, and the power of listening to even the darkest voice. Joran's laughter and Layla's songs became part of the galaxy's living memory. The null, through the beacons, shared visions of distant galaxies, forgotten wonders, and the beauty it had witnessed in its endless journey. Its presence was now felt as a gentle tide, sometimes mysterious, always inspiring. As the celebrations continued, people from every world sent messages to the Beacon Network. Poems, questions, invitations to collaborate. New art forms emerged. Music that blended light and shadow, stories told in patterns of energy, architecture that shimmered with null harmonics. In the quiet after the festivities, Layla, Joran, and Lynn gathered atop Harmonia's highest tower. They watched the stars, now brighter than ever, and spoke of the future. "We're not just survivors," Layla said, her voice soft with awe. "We're creators. We've made something new, together." Joran grinned, and who knows what we'll discover next. The story's just begun. Lynn smiled, her heart at peace. Whatever comes, we'll face it as one galaxy, united in chaos, creativity, and hope. Above them, the beacons pulsed in harmony with the null, a living testament to the power of understanding. The galaxy had entered a new era, one where darkness and light danced together, and every world, every voice, helped write the next chapter of existence.